Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another reaction. Today we're doing something a little different. This is Wrestleology. Wrestleology? Yeah. This is Nobody Understands Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is a current heel in WWE, and I believe he's going to fight Cody Rhodes at Saturday night's main event, right? And he has the Wayne Deagle belt, and he just came out and said that Sami Zayn's going to win the Royal Rumble. Uh, I'm interested to see what this video has to say, and we're starting off with Fast and Furious. All right. The original video, as well as Wrestleology's channel, will be linked in the description. Go support them in any way you possibly can. Like, comment, subscribe to them, all that good stuff. And if you have anything you want me to react to, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. I already have someone comment. That being said, let's go. Did I do that right? Yeah, let's go.
You ever watch one of those movies and find yourself rooting for the bad guy? You know,
Yeah.
the ones where you're halfway through the story and think, wait a minute, this guy actually kind of makes sense. Because here's the thing, when you think of modern day WWE, you might think of the Bloodline saga or Cody Rhodes finishing a story or the Judgment Day lore, but amidst all the chaos, there's
The Judgment Day stuff I ignore. I don't really care about it anymore. I thought it was cool until the love story came into play.
been one important yet often overlooked story that has been silently unfolding for half a decade at this point. It's the one story that's seamlessly interconnected with all the previous stories we just mentioned and has played a crucial role in shaping modern WWE's landscape. I'm talking about Kevin Owens' battle against the system and his underrated genius. And no, in case you were wondering by genius, I don't mean the time when KO was the only one on the roster who could prove that Elias and Ezekiel were the same person, or one of the 100 times when the prize fighter reminded everyone of basic wrestling tropes that most people seem to forget.
Doesn't make sense. You gotta wait for somebody to call you out before you come out. What the hell is this? No, they broke the rule. The unwritten rule. You can't just come out whenever you...
I'm talking about Kevin Owens' battle against the injustice in WWE, an injustice that involves Roman Reigns, the entire bloodline, and has recently drawn in the likes of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton into the mix. Because unlike most bad guys in wrestling who just turn their backs on everyone to be edgy and get a shot at the gold, Owens has the most legit motivation and one of the slowest burning character arcs in modern wrestestling history, to the point where you can't really help but kind of root for him.
It's damn good. Whoever's writing for whoever's writing for Owens is doing a damn good job, because he is moving slowly, and I love that. He is including more people that is part of the problem, that he actually sees as the problem, which makes sense.
So what exactly makes Kevin's journey so compelling? What makes his story arc against the bloodline so brilliant yet so overlooked? What differentiates KO from the rest of the locker room, and what does the future hold for Kevin Owens in WWE? Well, this is Grease from Wrestleology, and today we're going to answer all those questions and dive deep into one man's fight against an entire corrupt system that's slowly taking everything away from him. You see, Kevin Owens' story with the bloodline didn't start when Sami Zayn joined them. It didn't start when the Usos became the longest reigning tag team champions, and it certainly didn't start when Cody Rhodes came back to the WWE. No, Kevin Owens' story with the bloodline began in late 2020 when Roman Reigns had just returned to WWE, turned heel, and proclaimed himself as the tribal chief and the head of the table. Whilst everyone in the locker room was either falling in line or running scared, Owens was the first person to see through Roman's facade and stand up to him. In December 2020, while others were trying to find ways to coexist with Roman's reign of terror, KO did something different. He looked Roman in the eye and called him exactly what he was: a manipulator, a fraud, and a coward hiding behind his family's name. And here's the thing that everyone seems to forget. Kevin Owens was right. Remember those Universal Championship matches at TLC 2020, or the Steel Cage match, or the one at the Royal Rumble 2021? Owens had Roman beat every single time. He had him dead to rights. Every single time Kevin Owens proved that he could go toe-to-toe with Roman Reigns, but what happened in the end? The Bloodline's numbers game just proved to be way too much. But what's fascinating isn't just that Owens lost these matches, it's what he was saying during this period. Week after week, KO would warn everyone about what the Bloodline was doing to the WWE. He talked about how Roman was using his family ties to create an empire built on fear. He predicted that this wouldn't stop with just Jey Uso, that Roman would just keep adding members to his family, keep expanding his influence until no one could stand him. And
so two members maybe members. I don't know yet. 2 members were just signed to NXT. We have Lance Anawahi, who is he's cool. I like him. And Hikuleo, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Hikuleo is joining NXT as well. Probably going to be like a tag team, maybe. I don't know. But I hear they're joining NXT, and I'm happy for Lance because he made his debut in 2016, and Vince McMahon cast him aside, and I gotta say Vince McMahon does not have good taste sometimes.
And that's exactly what happened in the years that followed. Jimmy Uso fell in line, Solo Sikoa emerged as Roman's enforcer, Sami Zayn was manipulated into joining the Bloodline. The Bloodline literally grew exactly as Owens warned that it would. But here's the real kicker. During this entire period, Kevin Owens was fighting this battle alone. When he was getting beaten down by Roman and Jey Uso, no one came to help him. This is crucial to understand because it sets up everything that followed. Kevin Owens wasn't just fighting the Bloodline, he was fighting a system that had already accepted Roman Reigns as its Lord and Savior. He was fighting against a company that was slowly being corrupted by the Tribal Chief's influence, and he was doing it completely alone. And do you want to know the most ironic part? Years later, when Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, he was praised as a hero for saying the exact same things about Roman Reigns that Kevin Owens had been saying since 2020. When Cody talked about breaking the Bloodline's grip on WWE, he was celebrated. But when KO did it, he was labeled as the troublemaker and just a guy who was angry and bitter. And that's what makes this current position so fascinating. Because when you look at Kevin Owens today attacking Cody Rhodes and seeming like the bad guy, you have to remember, this is the same Kevin Owens who tried to warn us about the Bloodline's corruption years ago. And if he was right then, what if he's right now? But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet, because in 2022, something happened that made this whole situation even more personal for Kevin Owens when the Bloodline got their hands on Sami Zayn. Now, if you know anything about WWE history, you know that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have one of the most complex relationships in wrestling. They have been best friends, bitter enemies, and everything in between. But despite their complicated past, no one understood Sami better than Kevin Owens. So when Sami Zayn started hanging around the Bloodline, started calling himself the honorary Uce, Kevin Owens saw exactly what was happening. Once again, he tried to warn everyone. He tried to tell Sami that the Bloodline was just using him, that Roman Reigns was manipulating him the same way he'd manipulated his own cousins. And at Survivor Series War Games 2022, Owens found himself in a peculiar position. He joined forces with the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre to take on the Bloodline. The man who had been fighting the Bloodline alone 2 years ago finally had some allies, but across the ring was his best friend Sami Zayn, now fully embedded with the Bloodline. And what happened in that match? The Bloodline won, but more importantly, Owens was proved right yet again, because it was just 2 months later at Royal Rumble 2023, Sami Zayn finally saw Roman Reigns for what he really was. When Sami hit Roman with a chair after Owens' title match, it wasn't just a moment of defiance, it was a moment of realization. Everything Kevin Owens had been saying about the Bloodline was true. After months of watching his best friend being manipulated, after years of fighting the Bloodline alone, Kevin Owens had a choice to make. When Sami Zayn came asking for help, asking for forgiveness, Owens could have just said, "I told you so," and that would have been that. He could have turned his back on Sami the same way that Sami turned his back on him, but he didn't. Instead, Owens forgave Sami. Well, not immediately and not easily, but he ended up doing so. And together, they did what seemed impossible. At WrestleMania 39, in the main event of Night 1, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeated the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, somewhat weakening the Bloodline's reign of terror over the WWE. For 154 days, Owens and Zayn reigned as Tag Team Champions. They defended those titles against everyone, from Imperium to the Judgment Day, and they even successfully defended against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa at Night of Champions. For a moment, it seemed like Kevin Owens had finally won his war against the Bloodline. But remember what I said earlier about history having a way of proving Kevin Owens right? Because just when it seemed like the Bloodline's grip on WWE was weakening, just when it seemed like Kevin Owens had finally found some peace, that's when Cody Rhodes decided to change everything. And that's where our story takes its most interesting turn. When Cody Rhodes embarked on the road to dethrone Roman Reigns and quote-unquote finish his story, Kevin Owens was one of his strongest supporters. I mean, who better to understand Cody's mission to take down the Roman Empire than the man who had been fighting the same battle for years? When Cody needed allies against the Bloodline, Owens was there. When Cody needed someone to help him fight off Solo Sikoa and the Tongas, Owens answered the call. Time and time again, Kevin Owens put his body on the line to help Cody Rhodes achieve his dream. But what did Cody do in return? Well, for starters, Mr. American Nightmare here, in what he thought was an act of redemption, brought Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw, which resulted in Kevin Owens being drafted to SmackDown, splitting the team of Owens and Sami Zayn. Let that sink in for a moment. The man who had been fighting the Bloodline longer than anyone, who had supported Cody's mission from the start, was essentially exiled to SmackDown because Cody wanted to play savior to Jey Uso. But it gets worse, because after Owens was sent to SmackDown, he still didn't give up on Cody. Even when a new version of the Bloodline emerged with Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, and Solo Sikoa, Owens was still there fighting alongside Rhodes. Even when Cody offered him that title match at Bash in Berlin, a match that felt more like pity than respect, Owens still tried to do things the right way. But then came the ultimate betrayal. Cody Rhodes, the man who has built his entire comeback story on defeating the Bloodline, the man who promised to dethrone Roman Reigns, decided to team up with the Tribal Chief, the same Roman Reigns who tormented Kevin Owens for years, the same Roman Reigns who had corrupted Sami Zayn, Owens' best friend, and the same Roman Reigns who made Owens' life hell since 2020. That's when Kevin Owens finally snapped, and honestly, can you blame him? After Bad Blood, when those fan cameras caught
This footage was insane. I thought this was like an actual fucking fight. I thought Kevin Owens was actually beating the fuck out of Cody Rhodes, and I was scared. I was like, oh my god, one of my favorite wrestlers is going to get fired now.
Owens attacking Rhodes outside his bus, it wasn't just another heel turn. It was years of frustration finally boiling over. It was watching history repeat itself. Another friend compromising their principle, another ally falling under the Bloodline's influence. Even his relationship with Randy Orton, one of the few genuine friendships he had left, was sacrificed because Orton chose to stand with Cody. Once again, Kevin Owens found himself alone, fighting against a system that refuses to see what he sees. So when people ask why Kevin Owens turned on Cody Rhodes, why he attacked Randy Orton, why he seems so bitter and angry, the answer is simple. He's tired of being right. He's tired of warning people about the Bloodline's corruption only to watch them fall into the same traps. And he's tired of being the only one who seems to remember history. So where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with a Kevin Owens who's been labeled as bitter, angry,
No ads. Sorry.
and unstable. But when you look at the evidence, when you trace his story from 2020 to today, you start to see something different. You start to see a man who's been right about everything. He was right about Roman Reigns using his family to build an empire. He was right about the Bloodline's corruption spreading through WWE. He was right about Sami Zayn being manipulated, and now he might be right about Cody Rhodes too. Because here's the thing about Cody Rhodes' story, it's not just about winning the big one anymore. It's not about finishing the story, it's about what he's willing to compromise to keep that story going. And that's what makes this current chapter so compelling. Kevin Owens isn't just fighting against Cody Rhodes or Randy Orton or Roman Reigns, he's fighting against the very pattern he's been warning us about since 2020. The pattern of good people compromising their principles, of heroes becoming what they once fought against. Looking ahead, this story has infinite possibilities. Maybe we'll see Kevin Owens face off against Jey Uso at WrestleMania, the man who started his Bloodline nightmare, versus the man who forced him to SmackDown. Maybe his feud with Randy Orton will evolve into something bigger, especially if Orton starts to see what Owens had been seeing all along. Maybe we'll see KO and Drew McIntyre form an alliance to take the Bloodline down once and for all, or maybe we see Kevin Owens go up against his best friend in Sami Zayn after Sami also sided with Roman Reigns. Or maybe, just maybe, we're watching the early stages of Kevin Owens' greatest prophecy yet, because if history has taught us anything, it's that the Bloodline's influence corrupts everyone it touches, and with Cody Rhodes now willing to align himself with Roman Reigns, who's to say the American Nightmare won't become the very thing he set out to destroy? I know they have a ladder match coming up at the Royal Rumble, but what if that's not the last match that we see between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes? What if the next time that we see it happen, it'll be a babyface Kevin Owens versus a heel Cody Rhodes? And that's the genius of Kevin Owens' character arc. He's not really a villain, he's simply a prophet, a man cursed with the ability to see through the lies, to to predict the corruption, but doomed to watch as no one heeds his warnings until it's too late. So the next time you see Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes in the parking lot or taking him out with a package pile driver, remember this: sometimes the bad guy isn't really the bad guy at all. Sometimes he's just the only one brave enough to tell the truth. And in the case of Kevin Owens, history has proven him right every single time. But let me know what you think about the whole Kevin Owens situation. Do you think we'll see KO win the world title in the near future?
No. I'm going to be honest. No. Cody is keeping that thing, and he is being pushed greatly. He's been pushed from mid-Carter in like whatever year to main eventer top guy now. Like, that is an insane push. Like, huge push. And since Triple H did promise Cody Rhodes the title, I don't think he's going to lose it anytime soon. His reign is possibly going to be longer than Roman Reigns' title reign. I don't know.
How do you think the battle between the Bloodline and Kevin Owens will finally come to an end?
I don't know. I don't think Kevin Owens is going to win because he's seen as a heel now. Even though Wrestleology has proved, yeah, he's right. He is right. Kevin is the good guy now, to me now. I always liked Kevin Owens a bit more than Roman Reigns. Anyway, this is a good video. The original video, as well as Wrestleology's channel, will be linked in the description. Go support them any way you possibly can. Like, comment, subscribe to them, all the good stuff. And if you have anything you want me to react to, go and let me know in the comments down below. I read a single comment. That being said, bye-bye.